If you watched the second season of Nobody Wants This, which dropped recently, you probably spent a good amount of time yelling at your TV. And if you found yourself asking, what in the world happened to Joanne, you are definitely not alone. In Season 1, she was the sharp, smart, and messy character we all rooted for. Her chemistry with Noah was electric, their drama was incredible, and her flaws felt human. But in Season 2, it's like the writers took that character we loved and turned her into a narcissistic whiner, and the backlash has been pretty intense. So, how did the show manage to completely ruin one of its best characters? It wasn't just one thing. It was a series of specific, frustrating writing choices that took apart everything that made her great. So today, we're breaking down the 3 key failures that led to the absolute downfall of Joanne.
And I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
It's not us.
It's not?
No.
Oh.
1. The loss of relatability. The biggest problem in Season 2 really comes down to one simple writing sin. They amplified all of Joanne's flaws without any of the balance. Remember in Season 1, her neurotic tendencies and self-absorption were kind of charming? That's because they were balanced out by her vulnerability, her wit, and a real desire to connect with people. She was flawed, but she was trying. Second season took those flaws and cranked them up to 11, while basically forgetting about all the good stuff that made her endearing in the first place. Suddenly, her self-centeredness wasn't just an obstacle, it was her entire personality. Some critics have called her a textbook codependent and a totally neurotic, jealous, spoiled, selfish person whose only mission was to obsess over her relationship. The most telling moment, and the one that got fans and critics talking, comes from her own sister, Morgan. In one scene, Morgan has to preface a serious conversation with the line, "I have to tell you something, but I have to give you a warning that it's not about you." The fact that this line even exists says everything about how far Joanne's character has fallen. It's played for a laugh, but it just confirms what we were all feeling. Every single story had to orbit Planet Joanne. A Reddit user pointed out a perfect example in the very first episode, where Joanne just completely steamrolls her friend's breakup story at a dinner party. The old Joanne would have at least made a self-deprecating joke, showing she knew she was being a little much. The new Joanne doesn't even notice. One review highlighted an episode where Noah asks for one night to himself to prep for work, and Joanne completely freaks out. That isn't the behavior of a complex adult woman. It's a caricature. The writers seem to think that making her flaws more extreme would create drama. Instead, it just made her exhausting. A reviewer summed it up perfectly, saying Kristen Bell's portrayal became so grating and performative that it was almost unwatchable. The nuance was just gone, and all that was left was a one-dimensional whiner who needed everyone around her, especially Noah, to constantly feed her ego. 2. The hamster wheel of conflict. If Joanne's amplified limitations were the engine of her downfall, the show's repetitive plot was the hamster wheel she was stuck running on. Season 1's tension was all about the will they, won't they of their interfaith relationship. It was fresh, compelling, and it gave their romance real stakes. Season 2's big mistake was thinking it could just reheat that same conflict and serve it for another 10 episodes. The entire season felt like an exercise in going nowhere, with almost zero plot progression from start to finish. It picks up with Joanne and Noah at a stalemate over her converting, and it ends in the exact same spot. One critic pointed out that the finale is almost a carbon copy of the Season 1 finale, where the couple nearly breaks up over the religion issue, only to get back together without actually deciding anything. It just makes you ask, how many times are we going to watch this same exact fight? This lack of forward motion is precisely what the Hollywood Reporter criticized, noting that characters in a good show need to have other things to do in addition to falling in and out of love. Joanne and Noah don't seem to have other things to do. Their development has completely stalled. They're stuck in a loop, having the same arguments again and again without any resolution or growth. This is especially damaging for Joanne. Without a story that's actually moving forward, her anxieties don't feel like part of a journey. They just feel like a broken record. Her complaints are just the soundtrack to a story running in place. This ultimately sabotaged the show's greatest asset, the chemistry between the leads. That spark from Season 1 was almost gone, smothered under the weight of recycled arguments. And without that romantic fire to anchor the show, Joanne's worst qualities were left totally exposed, making her a character it was just really hard to root for anymore. Before we get to our final point, if you're finding this breakdown cathartic and nodding along with us, maybe consider subscribing to the channel. We're all about figuring out why the shows we love sometimes go so wrong. 3. From quirky to cartoonish. The final nail in Joanne's coffin was the show's shift from quirky to just plain cartoonish. Season 1, Joanne was smart. Her life was a mess, but it felt real. Second season took that authenticity and, as one reviewer put it, jumped the shark into cartoonish annoyance. The subtle, relatable moments of insecurity were gone, replaced with broad, over-the-top antics that felt more at home in a bad comedy. This shift is a classic case of what's known as Flanderization, where one trait, over time, swallows a character's entire personality. For Joanne, her quirkiness became a grotesque caricature. Her anxieties weren't presented with the kind of depth that makes you relate. They were dialed up to a screeching volume that just felt unbelievable. And this problem wasn't just limited to Joanne. One outlet noted that the supporting cast, who were so great in season 1, were reduced to friend cutaways, only there to react to whatever bizarre thing Joanne was doing this week. This loss of nuance had a devastating effect. When a character stops feeling grounded in reality, our empathy for them just evaporates. We no longer see ourselves in their struggles. We just see a collection of exaggerated traits performing for the camera. Some have even suggested this is part of a bigger influencer problem at Netflix, where everything starts to feel like content designed for social media clips instead of actual storytelling. The scenes feel less like life and more like a bit for TikTok. Whether that's true or not, the effect is the same. Joanne stopped feeling like a person and started feeling like a persona. So when her big emotional moments finally arrived, they just didn't land. We couldn't invest in her pain because we no longer believed in the person feeling it. So, what really happened to Joanne in Nobody Wants This Season 2? The writers took the foundation of a fantastic character and just broke it. They cranked her flaws up so high she became an insufferable narcissist, trapped her in a stagnant plot that went absolutely nowhere, and shaved off all the nuance that made her feel real, leaving a cartoonish shell behind. The result was a huge backlash from the same fans who loved her just a year ago. The irony is that the show still has hints of what made it so great. That chemistry between Kristen Bell and Adam Brody is still there, just buried under layers of bad writing. The supporting cast is still full of potential, just waiting for a story that isn't about Joanne's latest crisis. If this show wants to find its footing in a potential third season, the path forward is clear. The writers have to ground Joanne again. They need to move the story forward, make her face real consequences for her flaws, and help us rediscover the vulnerable, witty, and human character we all fell in love with in the first place. Tying things up with another unearned happy ending isn't romantic anymore, it's just lazy, but that's my breakdown. Now I want to hear from you. What was the moment in Season 2 that Joanne officially lost you? Was it a specific line, a particular scene? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.